we are the ones that wanna play, always wanna go, but you never wanna stay. And we are the ones that wanna choose, always wanna play, but you never wanna lose.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. As usual, bear with me while I share this out and say that we are live. Let me see. Here we are.
We're live, everyone. Come on
We are
over.
live.
We're live. Like we've never been live before.
I am so live right
We
now.
are so live.
I
So
am
live.
so live. Oh my God, I just thought of something.
What?
We got to do another Halloweener show this year. That was so fun. That was so fun. We had my comrade Ron Placone, and he, what the hell did Ron dress as?
I don't remember.
I think he just had a mask on. Like
yeah.
Maybe it was his Darth Vader or something. And then you had a hat that was a football.
Yes.
And then my background was the Cure album, and I was Robert Smith, and I looked so much like him. I have never felt so unattractive because I looked like his doppelganger, but like a girl. It was bad, but like it was pretty fucking spot on at the same time. So this year I gotta think of something else. Yeah, I'm into that.
We'll I got some ideas.
Huh? Oh, what are you gonna wear? Your bowling outfit?
No. It'll. What I'm thinking is a little better. We'll see.
All right.
Depends on people get it. Depends on what people watch.
It's hard because we only film from our testicular area up.
Right.
So it's, if your costume's below the chesticles, it's not going to be translated that well, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I need to make sure that I get something chesticle friendly.
Exactly.
For shows, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So we do have a show today.
We do actually have some news as well. We just like to, it's our catch up time with each other. So, and this is our friendship, pretty much, just like talking about these very important things.
Of course.
So we are definitely doing something. Oh, my light went out. There it goes. We are doing something never before done in the year we've done shows together. White men are not going first tonight.
Yeah. This is like the suffrage act equivalent of this show. Like,
where's my pussy hat, bitches? Hillary 2024. Actually, I shouldn't even joke about that
because that might actually be a thing. That might actually be a thing. So we don't want to bring any more attention to that than we should.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my God, ew. But anyway, so today is, of course, Indigenous Peoples Day. And something I've talked about quite a number of times on my show, on my channel, Savage Joy Marie Man, also subscribe, is MMIW, which is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. A lot of people don't know about this because, frankly, it's just not covered. And Indigenous women go missing and murdered thousands every year. And the police, whoever, the investigators, do not even try to find them. The majority of the time, they do not even put them on a missing poster, anything like that. I mean, they're just blatantly ignored, which leaves it in, the natives' hands to, go around their area and see if anyone's seen them and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times they're taken by white people and taken out of that area, usually for trafficking. So only being able to talk to your community does not help, because it's like beyond rare that an Indigenous person is the one who creates an MMIW. It just never happens. But unfortunately, when that's all you have, because no one else is helping you, there are thousands and thousands who have just never been found and never named. And for very spiritual people, this is, heartbreaking and a huge sign of disrespect as well. So I wanted to play this short video just to honor MMIW and to, draw attention to it. This is something that everybody really needs to learn more about, because it's just not talked about.
3 out of 4 Native women will be physically assaulted. The advocates believe that crimes against Native women are underreported and underestimated.
88% of the crimes committed against Indigenous women are interracial.
1 in 3 Native American women will be raped in their lifetime.
The second leading cause of death for Indigenous girls ages 1 to 4 is murder.
Rarely do we find laws and policies that protect trans community.
Violence accounts for 75% of deaths in Indigenous youth ages 12 to 20.
We pray for and honor these relatives.
Ashlyn Mike from the Diné tribe. She was 9 years old and she was murdered. Carol Swan from the Shuchungu Lakota Oyate, the Rosebud Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. She is my auntie. She was murdered.
Evie Ortegon and her baby boy. She was killed by medical neglect. She's Eastern Shoshone, Northern Arapaho. She is my sister.
Stacy Hill, 17 years old, from the Red Lake Band of Ojibwe Indians located in northern Minnesota. She was murdered.
Fred Martinez, Navajo, 16 years old, transgender, murdered.
Jacinta Eagle Deer, Brule Lakota, killed in a hit and run in 1975.
In 2019, the Senate officially designated May 5th as National Day of Awareness for MMIW. It honors the birthday of Hannah Harris, a Northern Cheyenne woman who went missing in Montana and was determined to have been raped and murdered.
It's heartbreaking. So now, and then, when these people are, I don't want to say some of the fortunate ones who actually get the closure of finding out that their body is found, which is, there's nothing fortunate about it. Nothing happens to the people who did it. They rarely even go to trial. There's just no semblance of justice. In fact, one, I want to say it was South Dakota, and I could be wrong. I'll check it after the show. They created their own court. And Andrew and I touched on this last month. Native Americans created their own court just so they could get some semblance of justice, because white men and white women just don't give them any. So they went through that process to have their own trials, which is just insane that they would have to do that. However, good for them, because now it's more fair. But yeah, a lot of people don't. I mean, we all know people of color are subjected to the worst treatment and injustices, but a lot of times people leave out Indigenous peoples. So this is so important. Andrew's going to read a couple of the statistics.
Yeah, so Indigenous women are murdered 10 times higher than any other ethnicities. Murder is the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women, according to the Center for Disease Control. More than 4 out of 5 Indigenous women have experienced violence. More than half Indigenous women experience sexual assault, or I should say sexual violence. More than half Indigenous women have been physically abused by their intimate partners. Less than half of Indigenous women have been stalked in their lifetime. Indigenous women are 1.7 times more likely than Anglo-American women to experience violence. Indigenous women are 2 times more likely to be raped than Anglo-American white women. Murder rate of Indigenous women is 3 times higher than Anglo-American women. Yeah.
And when have you heard this talked about? I mean, I've covered it on my show numerous times, but aside from going to actual Native American websites and stuff like that, and following actual Indigenous peoples, who the fuck talks about this? You know? That's why a lot of people are covering, fuck Columbus and celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Absolutely. But at the same time, we need to make sure we're also talking about these women, because we cannot celebrate Indigenous peoples without honoring those who have just been completely disregarded. So definitely learn more. MMIW.org. There's a lot of interesting podcasts. There's a wonderful woman, Deb Schilling, who we mutually follow on Twitter. That's SCHILLING. Her and her husband are advocates. It definitely just do what you can to put this information out there, because it's just not talked about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think
one of the with all the families, for real, yeah. I can't even imagine.
And I think, one of the things among many things that make people complicit when it comes to the treatment of Indigenous people is because of how our society, historically over hundreds of years, have created systems that make them essentially invisible, right? Sure. Continuing pushing them off their land, pushing them further and further west, and then finally being like, all right, we're going to set you up with your own little enclosed prison-like conditions community, aka reservations, right? Without any similar laws. And granted, I'm not saying all Indigenous people live in those conditions, but the culture has been, let's just forget that this community genocide was created with, historically and to this day exists, right? And so the more that they can, I think, adding to your point, it's important that we remind people and bring this up, because we need people to be educated so that they don't continue to be invisible in this sense, right? And so, yeah, talking about Christopher Columbus, educating people on the history is important, but then also saying this is what's happening now, and this is how colonialism has continued now in the form that it's in, right? Yes, we're not, the United States and the colonists are not blatant. Well, in some cases they are one by one picking, as we talked about, Indigenous women off, but it's not like blatantly pillaging their lands in this sense. Now it's like other more subtle ways, and I think we just need to be aware of that. Yeah.
And I think, this is like, I digress, but I read a lot of articles from Indigenous women about Elizabeth Warren lying, and proclaiming to be something she's not. The main issue with that, well, first of all, it's racist as fuck. Okay, that's first of all. But she is claiming something that these people have gone through so much pain And she has never been judged for anything in her life. She has never suffered. She is privileged. So for her to be like, yes, I'm Indigenous, and claim that label when these people have been through so much pain, that is probably the most offensive part. So I'm reading, what's that?
I was just gonna say, didn't she also like write a cookbook for Indigenous
Powwow Chow?
Powwow Chow, yeah.
And she said, I know I have native blood because my granddaddy said I have high cheekbones. I mean, she said the most disgusting shit, and it's so blatantly offensive and racist. And I've read incredible articles from Native women who are just repulsed at the way she behaved, but also the way that so many white women just excuse it and blame it on, well, Trump asked for the DNA. She didn't have to do it. Just stop. She didn't have to do it. So,
well, and she didn't. It's not only that she did it, but then she actually said, "Oh, look," as if it was a got you. Like, "Oh, I'm Indigenous. Look, it's like 0.2%."
We all are. They were the first people there, you dumbass.
So, yeah, I think for me, it's not even the fact that she did it, but she actually made it out to be like, "Oh, look, I have some Indigenous blood. Oh, great. You have like a little sliver."
Like the biggest cell phone in the history of cell phones. And then, of course, she posted today, I stand with Indigenous peoples, blah, blah, blah. The comments are...
I'm sure they're good.
There's a lot of gems.
I remember when we had JB on. I think it was me, you, and Logan had JB on, and we were talking about a little bit of this. And I remember JB said, I did a DNA test, and it came out that I was 2%. I had 2% Norwegian in my blood. Do I go around telling people I'm Norwegian? Yeah. So.
Oh my God. So sad. But anyway, thank you so much for celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day with us. And definitely do something to honor them frequently, not just today. Andrew, what else you got? What's next on our agenda?
Yeah, so some of you may have heard that there has been a Sysco strike that has been going on, mostly in Massachusetts, Boston area, and in some of New York. One thing to be aware of, so Sysco drivers, they deliver, food to different businesses, different hospitals, different schools, right? They're in the food delivery business. In fact, 17.7% of the approximately 264 billion annual food service market is made up of Sysco in the United States and Canada. So it's a company that shares a good amount of the food service market. And so I'm going to read an article talking about this real quick. And then I'm going to
super quick, Andrew. I'm sorry. I just want to address this one comment. A gentleman named Michael in the chat, you are 100% right. The video was kind of hard to hear, but they did talk about that legislation. It was in 2019. And yes, interestingly enough, the whole broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah, Trump was the one that put that legislation in order. So go figure. But yes, you are absolutely correct.
So
sorry, just wanted to address that.
So this is back when Sysco strike enters day 4. So this is from October 4th. So it's been going on longer than that now, right? More than 300 striking Sysco workers are now off the job and protested for a 4th day outside the company's Plimpton warehouse. 7 News previously reported the strike is starting to affect local businesses who rely on their food distribution service, including schools, restaurants, and hospitals. We've already gone through 2 years of problems. We don't need a third. We don't need another year of problems. We need to get back to business, James Kirk of New England Steak and Seafood said of the situation. Kirk says he counts on Sysco's deliveries twice a week and doubts he will get the goods he needs. My biggest concern is if my Sysco delivery does not arrive, he says, and if it doesn't, I already have it ready and placed with another vendor. One Fall River restaurant owner navigated the lack of deliveries another way. He drove to pick up his food order himself. It's taken hours out of our day to come pick up our own food when we paid for the service for it to be delivered, Luis Gonçalves of Juiced Cafe says. So this is throwing a huge monkey wrench in how we conduct our business. Sysco has condemned the strike, but the striking employees say they won't stop until they reach an agreement on pay, pensions, and health care benefits. There may be a meeting Wednesday at the negotiating table. So, real quick, Joy, just by reading this article right here, what's your reaction to this article, and particularly in how they describe this whole Sysco strike?
So, obviously, it's a bit slanted. But okay, so look. I think about the employees of the businesses being affected. So that is an issue. I totally get it. If you're a mom and pop and you're waiting for Sysco to fill orders for your customers, absolutely. The problem is these businesses, instead of complaining to this publication, should be on the phone to Sysco and saying, hey, give your people fucking health care. They'll get back to work and then we will be happy because we will then have our product again. So they, as the customers, have leverage. They have that leverage to be like, hey, your people are striking for a reason. Let's go. We want to support companies who actually treat their employees well. So, but instead they're complaining to, a publication.
Exactly. It's the classic, and the whole article is trying to paint small businesses against the workers at Sysco, and which is of course going to be something that they're going to try and do if they're trying to defend the legacy of Sysco, right? There's no mentioning of what the conditions are for the Sysco workers, why they're striking, what benefits they actually are striking for, that they're trying to get an improvement for. And so because this article didn't really talk about it, I'm going to bring this up that actually gives more information that this other article failed to give.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the interview with a Sysco worker.
So, this is the article of there was no interview with the Sysco worker in that.
Why
article.
would you talk to them?
Right. So this is Mo. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name because I'm going to completely butcher it. Formerly of Jezebel, Wall Street Journal, now of Econ Liberties. So this is a journalist. Where I starts out, maybe you've heard of Sysco. Teamsters are on strike in 3 cities. But unless you work in a commercial kitchen, you probably don't know what Sysco even is or why so many chefs and small businesses are rooting for the strikers, right? Interestingly, okay? So here the article talks about like 2 people in small businesses who are saying, oh my goodness, my life is so hard and saying how the strike, but here it's saying, I guess there's so many chefs and small restaurants that are rooting for the strikers. Interesting. So down to here, during the pandemic, Sysco's brand new CEO laid off a third of its workforce. Probably he got the idea from the railroads, which had just laid off a third of their workers without even a pandemic to blame. What could go wrong, right? No prizes for guessing how Sysco spent the cash it saved axing workers. They went shopping for small companies in Sysco stock. Also dividends. Management just boasted to an investor conference that it expected to have returned $15 billion to shareholders by the end of the year. And if we look at this chart here, you see from 2015, cumulative cash return to shareholders was $0.7 billion. and it keeps going up and up and up, rising pretty much to 2023. We're at 15 billion now. Meanwhile, in the kitchen trenches, total chaos reigned. Last year, restaurants were regularly getting orders 2 to 3 days late, if at all. Whole counties were unilaterally wiped off delivery routes because Sysco liked how its lean labor force looked on the spreadsheet. And, if we're going to talk about if WHDC, the previous article that I was reading, is going to talk about how, these small business owners are suffering because of that, well, let's talk about how, as one Connecticut, where's the Hartford Current? Which one? Yeah, here it is. As one Connecticut chef explained to a trade publication, they can't handle the workload, so to minimize the workload and still maintain an effective business, they are getting rid of smaller customers and favoring larger customers who spend more money. They say if you can't make the minimum, we can't help you, putting small businesses, restaurants in a position where they have to play a dangerous game, ordering larger volume instead of being based on need to get the things that they do need. We run the risk of having too large an inventory, and if it's perishable, of it going to waste before it gets utilized. Okay, and then here we go to Sysco's failure to deliver even forced a New England summer camp to shut 7 weeks early in a scandal likened to the Fire Festival. More like the inevitable result of hundreds of kids who'd never known deprivation in any form experiencing hunger for first time. Now perhaps you wonder, how do these companies manage to perpetually hike dividends if they're failing their customers in such spectacular fashion? That's the magic of inflation, my friends. Just triple the price of animal proteins, paper products, and rubber gloves, and we're good. Anyway, Sysco and U.S. Foods, like railroads and airlines, are case studies of how monopolies abuse workers and small business almost identically, and that abuse is symbiotic. That's why Teamsters opposed the two companies' diabolical plan to merge in 2015. So there it is. That's what's really going on. Props to this person for really just laying out all the different issues here that are happening. But I mean, I think one of the things that really just stood out to me was the fact that smaller restaurants had to just stop doing business with them or risk just oversupplying their food, right? And we talk about the whole issue of small businesses not being able to, make it by the Sysco workers being on strike. Well, they were having that issue well before the Sysco workers were on strike, right? And so if anything, these Sysco workers are actually helping a lot of these.
They're just calling attention to it, yeah.
They're calling attention to it, and they're also demanding higher benefits, right? Because one things that I was also reading in one of these articles is that compared to other food delivery organizations, right, they're getting paid the least, right? And we know why they're getting paid the least, because the stock dividends continue to keep going up and up every year to 15 billion, right? And so this is how it all merges into it, right? And as I said at the beginning, they control 17.7% of the approximately 264 billion annual food service market in the US and Canada. So they have a lot of power and leverage. And so, of course, if you go on strike, there are going to be a lot of small businesses that don't get food, but they were already struggling as it was working with them, it sounds like. So at this case, solidarity with the workers.
Yes,
you're really, I think, helping out a lot of people. And, if it affects where I work, where there's less food, so be it. I'll bring my own food from other places. But
I mean, Sysco needs to just go back to dong. Sorry, I couldn't help it. But thank you. But Sysco is an example of one of those places that believes they're invincible because they're too big to fail. I mean, they have a name. Every office I've ever worked that has a cafeteria was run by Sysco. Every single office I've worked at. So, they do have a monopoly in so many, well, especially in Pennsylvania, they certainly do. So it really is that we're too big to fail type attitude where it's we don't really need you, to lay off third of their employees, which gives the workers more work to try and, make up for the people they lost, and then they get no additional compensation for it. It's so disgusting. It is so disgusting. And I hope a lot of these people start dealing with other places. I hope they do. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on that, yeah, because this was something that sort of just all of a sudden kind of came up. Like, okay. And kind of like a lot of these labor disputes, right? It's like you don't really hear too much about it, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're striking. Fuck you. And it's like, oh, wow. And this is why. And this is the effect.
And we're like the only people that cover anything but Amazon.
Right. Right.
Seriously. But we do have an Amazon story today.
Because we also do cover Amazon as well.
We do. And not for profit.
Oof, yeah. So give me 1 second to pull this up. There's a few different ones that we were going to show regarding Amazon. And so do you want me to show Jordan's one first?
Show Jordan's first. Okay,
cool.
Jordan Sheridan, friend of the show. He does a show with Steve on Status Quo. He, I don't agree with him a lot politically, but he does a lot of great work on the ground. So this is, he was speaking with people who worked in the Amazon warehouses that were on fire and talking to them about how it was handled. Andrew, can you read this?
Yeah. So news, Amazon has closed ALB1 Albany after fire last night. A worker who went in this morning told me the doors were wide open and they had the fans on blowing hard. You can smell the residue of the smoke. ALB1 will hold second Amazon union election on October 12th.
So, and then if you want to click on Chris's, there's some photos, pretty scary. And Chris's post is interesting as well, if you can read what he said.
Sure. Let me pull up Chris's post now. All right. So, breaking news. ALB1 Albany, New York, Amazon is currently on fire. This is the third building this week alone. Amazon labor will have updates shortly. We're currently gathering more information from our leads on the ground.
So let's just take a step back and think about that. 3 on fire in 1 week. Okay. 3 different warehouses.
And it's not like previously there had been a pattern of sure, a lot of workplace injuries. Sure. A common practice of people not being able to go home during storms and dying there, right? But fires.
Now I have searched and searched and searched and searched. I cannot find anything. Was it electrical? Was it arson? I find nothing at all. But, you take if it was 1, it'd be like, yo, they really treat their people like shit. They can't even update their buildings. But then 3? And then this one's, voting in 2 days, yes, for their union. So it's like, okay. But, what it comes down to is that this is so typical of Amazon for them to send workers the next day anyway, when they're coughing with smoke coming in and breathing that shit in. You can wind up in the hospital from that shit.
Yeah.
That should be fumigated. There's no way anyone should go in that building. And
you
that
do
is
have
so fucking Amazon. Like, that is like, if you told me that happened somewhere, I'd be like, Amazon. Like, incredible.
and so I guess according to Jordan, also saying there, yeah. So the other two fires at an Amazon facility were in Huntsville, Alabama, over the last week. I don't know too much about. I don't know if you know. I don't know too much about that facility in terms of if they were planning on unionizing or where they are with that. But
I could not find additional info on that.
Yeah. I mean, with how dirty Amazon is and how dirty Jeff Bezos is, and everyone in executive power there, I wouldn't put it past them for this to be a union busting tactic, almost like.
Or it's the 2022 version of a guillotine.
It's a 2022 version of what?
A guillotine. Burn that shit down!
Oh, so you're saying it's the other way where the...
I don't know. I mean, I hope it is. I hope it is.
Could be.
I hope if it is, they don't get caught or whatever. But look,
right.
I mean, I wouldn't blame people. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't blame them because the conditions they're subjected to, people just reach their breaking point. So
that's true.
I don't want to, use conjecture. I don't know, but the first thing I thought of was, oh, they could have done it themselves. Like the Bezos, could have done it because of the union vote. But then I found out there were two other ones that I can't find anything about a union vote. So I'm like, maybe it was employees. What's that saying?
Born Sinner Cold World says it was the box breaking machine that caught on fire. It's not the first time, and it is Amazon warehouse. So,
oh, I see.
If you have any information on that, want to share any links, feel free to drop that in the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be helpful as we are, trying to uncover the case of Amazon catching on fire. I know, right?
Really hoping for some burn this shit down. No, I wasn't. CIA. No, I was not. Nope, I didn't say that. I was joking.
Yeah, it's a joke.
All the ops.
We don't
joking.
want anyone burning down Amazon warehouse. We need them so much for
we do. I mean, I don't know how our world would survive without them. Like only them.
Right.
Our world would fall apart.
It really would. It really would. Yeah. So now we're going to switch over to California, and we're going to talk about this.
California knows how to party.
Yeah.
California has a bunch of racists. California.
So we have a bunch of LA City Council Democrats. So of course, it's gonna they're really working for the people. They're very all-inclusive. They very much care about identity, and they want to make sure that all identities are respected in this country, right? That's what the LA Democrats, city councilors are about,
Wait, there are no racist Democrats. They totally have to be.
No, there's definitely not. And if you say they're racist, then you're definitely a Trump supporter.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just hung out with Putin, so I mean, yeah, I'm a Putin supporter as well. I've been told 15 times today.
Nice. So I'm going to read this article first, and then I'm going to try and share some audio too, just a forewarning. Some of the stuff they say is pretty offensive, right? So particularly, but a leaked audio recording Sunday that led Los Angeles City Council President Nuri Martinez to resign from her post of a conversation between 3 members of the Los Angeles City Council, and a top county labor official also included revealing discussions around last year's process of redrawing council district boundaries. Martinez resigned Monday after public outcry over racist comments. Governor Gavin Newsom, Monday, let me get this out of here, condemned the racially charged comments. Words matter, and racist language can do real harm, Newsom said in a statement. I'm encouraged that those involved in this have apologized and begun to take responsibility for their actions. These comments have no place in our state or in our politics, and we must all model better behavior to live the values that so many of us fight every day to protect. The conversation, first reported by the Los Angeles Times, included strategizing between Martinez, Councilman Kevin De Leon, and Gil Cedillo, and LA Council Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera over how to protect the 3 city council members' districts and elect more Latinos to the council. They expressed frustration with proposed maps from the city's 21-member redistricting commission, as the 3 council members discussed how they could create favorable districts for themselves while handing other colleagues unfavorable districts. Council districts are redrawn once every 10 years, and the council was discussing its options at the time. It's for Latino strength for the foreseeable future, De Leon said during the conversation. Latinos represent less than a third of the council districts, despite making up half of the city's population. Martinez called on those on the redistricting committee so-called purists and hinted that they should take direction from the council because they were appointed. She said the committee members had fucking gone rogue and were fucking useless at this point. They feel like they're in charge of themselves. She added, referring to De Leon and Cedillo, I'm trying to get the majority of good districts so you can all get reelected. But if you push a whack map, you're going to end up with fucking disaster on the council. In a statement Sunday, De Leon said the conversation was wholly inappropriate, and I regret appearing to condone and even contribute to certain insensitive comments made about a colleague and his family in private. That's an understatement. Cedillo did not respond to a request for comment, but told the Times that he did not have a recollection of the conversation. Really? You don't remember this conversation? Okay. And so I'm just going to skip around here because some of this is kind of mumbo jumbo.
Okay, so real quick, if you don't remember that conversation, that means these people say shit like that a lot.
Or they're just lying because they don't, but still.
Either way.
Yeah. Not good. There's no good reason for that. Yeah. It's just a matter of which one it is. But yeah, no, the audio. So Crystal says the audio is unreal. Right when you think it's over, they keep going. Yeah. So I think.
And here's the thing, though. I'm sorry. People were telling me, they're like, "Oh, do you hear the racists get caught on, on audio in California?" So I expected this to be a white dude. Of course, I expected it to be a white dude, not a woman of color.
Yeah. And so what? Okay, so here we go. This first one we're going to listen to. Yeah, just, it's pretty offensive, so just be prepared.
All the, folks like with us going, he did call me. He wants to have breakfast with me.
What's taking him so long?
I just said, hey, we need to talk.
Gil supported him from the.
All right, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah.
So you'll start seeing them line up. Isaac was the first.
Okay, so if you didn't hear that, if you didn't catch that, said, fuck that guy, he's with the blacks. And then it goes further.
It's like the oddest thing. It's like black and brown on this float. And then there's this white guy with this little black kid who's misbehaved. Este niño has they're not doing, the kid is bouncing off the effing walls on the float, practically tipping it over. There's nothing you can do to control him. Parece changuito. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah. And then it goes further by saying
they're raising him like a little white kid, which I was like, This kid needs a beat down. Like, let me take him around the corner and then I'll bring him back.
Yeah.
¿Sí me entiendes? Ven para
It's
acá.
a pinch.
Yeah.
But yes, he's the fourth one.
So anyways, getting back to redistricting.
Yes.
Getting back to, like, you know, ways that we can stay in power and, like, you know, manipulate it so that we and then there was one where, I mean, if you listen to all the audios, it's a combination of, they talk about Koreatown and talk about you know, Asian populations that live there, and use a lot of, you know, just talk about them so negatively. It's one of the things they talk about is how they don't want too many renters in their district, right? One of them said, I already have enough poor people in my district, right? Don't need more, you know, and so it really is just telling some of the things that, you know, not just the particular city councilors that were caught talking about this, but just behind closed doors, what a lot of elected officials talk about. You know, they clearly, the number one thing is not, you know, not like what can we be doing for XY communities. It's how can we stay in power? How can we manipulate these districts so we can continue to get reelected? And it's just very fascinating how, you know, this just a couple months ago, we were talking about how they were criminalizing homelessness in LA and such. So it's really, yeah, it's just, yeah. I don't really even know what to say.
Disgusting. So freaking disgusting. And the thing is, every time someone, you know, gets caught saying something fucked up, they're like, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Were you before you got caught? No.
Right. Well, and it's just like, yeah, okay, so Lazy Quackhole says, good name. Why did it take a secret source to out her? That's a really good question, right?
Like, exactly what I was thinking. Absolutely. People do not have the guts to stick up, you know, to actually call out fellow politicians. They just don't have the guts. And it's pathetic. If you are, like, I always think of that quote, you know, if you witness injustice, you know, you're just contributing to it. Like, say something. Mm-hmm. What the hell, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, they're just as guilty. If you feel uncomfortable about what someone says and you don't say anything about it, then how different are you? Not much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I'm gonna play this clip right here because this was one of the more offensive ones, too. So,
trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning.
You gotta share it.
Oh, fuck. All right, let's go back to the beginning. All right.
Yeah, puro Oaxacan Koreans. Not even like Kevin, little one.
I was like, no, I don't know where these people are from. I was like, I don't know what village they came, how they got here, but.
And so they're wearing shoes.
So I get what we have to do, right? Just massage to create districts that benefit you all, right, and the future.
Yep.
But we got to figure out Mark's seat too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, that benefits you three.
Is if the African Americans look at this now that he might or may not be suspended, I don't know what's going to happen. I think he should be, but anyhow, if he goes away,
you mean resign, not suspended?
No,
you're right. I think there is a difference.
If I may,
if he resigns, hold on. If he resigns and the African Americans look at this as a hostile takeover because he's gone, we'll have to figure that shit out because politically they're going to come after him.
Yeah, but can I say something right now? And this is what I call the ¿cómo se llama this guy? The movie, the Wizard of Oz effect. And what I mean by the Wizard of Oz effect is when you're at the side of the curtain, it's like this big voice. And it sounds big. And it sounds like there's thousands of them. And then when you actually pull the curtain, is that you see the little Wizard of Oz.
They seem very way too engaged in this conversation to have forgotten it. Just gonna say they're really thinking a lot about this cynical strategy and
Yep. It's not like it's just her talking. That's the thing. Like, y'all are contributing too. So, but now, correct me if I'm wrong. She's the only one who has resigned, correct?
I think so. Well, so I know one, Nuri Martinez resigned, and I don't know. I'm not clear if she actually resigned, period, or just from the LA City Council president seat, right? So I can try and look that up real quick, but yeah, that was what it was saying initially, is a step down from the city council seat. So.
Oh God.
So I don't even know. Yeah, so it says, amid scandal, Nuri Martinez resigns as LA City Council president. And so after a secret record. Okay. Give me 1 second. Yeah, but they don't say she resigned, stepped down as city council, at least from what I'm reading. So
no, the way
here it is.
wrote it.
Martinez stopped short of resigning from her council seat. Instead, she asked Angelinos for the opportunity to make amends. So now she's apologizing. This is from 1 hour, 10:30 a.m. today. So yeah, as of then.
Anyone who votes for this chick again, like, oh my God.
It was updated at 7:21 p.m. today too. So yeah, she hasn't resigned totally. So yeah, just good information to have. Yeah, so Lazy Quackhole, she stepped down from her position, but she didn't resign. That's more than Nancy Pelosi will ever do, though.
Well, this is true. You know, it's so hilarious because my family was visiting from Los Angeles this weekend, and you know, they tell me some of the stuff, and it's so funny because before I met them, I was like, Los Angeles is the most like open-minded, and you know, they love people of color, and you know, and all this stuff, and I was like so naive to everything, and then the more I hear shit like this, the more I'm like, how could I have thought like, you know, LA and California was like this big huge hippie fest, and like, but so many people think that they're like, California is the most progressive state. They have Republicans elected there. I mean, it's not what so many of us.
It's a big state, and like, yeah, there's no state that's going to not have any Republican elected. But
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of like New York. That's sort of like New York, right? Like, the cities are very Democratic, and then you get out in the country, and you know, they tend to be more Republican, and that's kind of like what California is. I mean, it's a big state. It's got a lot. So, but I think the takeaway with this particular thing when LA is that, you know, when people say you got to just vote Democrat, you got to just, you know, these problems will go away if we just elect more and more Democrats. And I always just find it funny because it's like, let's just look at these local governments that have all Democrats in them, right? Or mostly Democrat, maybe one independent, but still. And it's like, they're still criminalizing homelessness. They're making it, they're creating less and less places where homeless people can go. And then there's all this corruption and racism like we saw there. So it's like that shit's not going to go away.
Well, this is an isolated incident, Andrew.
Yeah,
I've
you're right.
never
It's
heard of a racist scam before, okay?
right. This is a
Don't
special
prove 'em.
circumstance. These people just have something wrong with them, and that's it.
It's
Like,
an anomaly. It's
an anomaly.
totally cool.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. LA is so MFing corrupt. Nixon didn't say a 3-year-old should get beaten down. What the fuck? I mean, yeah. Well,
What's that, Nixon?
Nixon didn't even say a 3-year-old should get beat down. What the fuck? In
What?
response to that kid, the black kid of the white father, and that's what they were talking about, who he
Right.
adopted a black. Now I don't know how was that. Maybe I missed it. Was that kid 3 years old? Not at all saying that's right. I didn't get that the specific age of that child, but yeah, no, that was wild thing to
That's
say.
so fucked up.
Yeah. So
Can you post that article in the comments with the clips you were playing?
sure. Yeah, I will get to that. So speaking of racists, time for us to talk about Biden, I believe.
Jim Crow Joe.
Jim Crow Joe.
The other Biden. Yeah, so I picked this story because I wanted to clarify some things. You know, due to the crime bill is not going to suddenly legalize marijuana. People are really running with this and, being presumptuous, like, oh, he's going to legalize cannabis. No, he's not. And here's a few pieces of, the reality. Can you actually go to Biden's quote first, his tweet?
Mm-hmm. Just give it a minute.
So Biden did this thread of 7 tweets. And he's acted like he is all about cannabis and stuff, even though in 2019, just in 2019, he called it a gateway drug. It's true. You can see it on YouTube.
So he says, third, we classify marijuana at the same level as heroin and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. I'm asking Secretary Becerra and the Attorney General to initiate the process of reviewing how marijuana is scheduled under federal law.
Cool. Issue with that. Number one, you say you're asking when you can do an executive order. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Bernie has said that shit for 40 fucking years, and you have attacked him nonstop for it. So basically, you just want to get reelected, and you want the Dems to win the midterms. So people are looking at this, and they're like, oh, shit, that means he's legalizing cannabis. Actually, it doesn't, and that's not even what he said. So, Andrew, do you first want to go to the tweet you just had up with that gentleman?
Sure. Okay. So,
if anyone legalizes cannabis, it's not going to be Jim Crow Joe and Kamala Harris.
So, according to the White House, no one is currently in federal prison solely for simple possession of the drug, but the pardon could help thousands overcome obstacles to renting a home or finding a job.
So, just to break that down, this would let people out of federal prison.
Yeah.
But nobody's in federal prison for that. Awesome.
Right. They were saying it's more of a state.
Nobody. Cool. And then I had another screenshot of an article.
And that is right here. Oh, yes, 5 staffers.
Oh, well, no, there was one before that, too.
Uh-oh. Where is that one?
It's a clip of, let me see.
The swamp communist.
Oh, God, I don't know. What's a swamp communist? I like
This is who
it.
Biden just pardoned. And then they
Oh, okay,
have...
no, here, my Nunya.
Yep. That's this. Yep. I'm pulling that up now. Okay, yep, I got it. Give me 1 second. We got it. We're back in business. There are currently no individuals in federal prison solely for simple possession of marijuana, and most marijuana possession convictions occur at the state level, the official have said. Federal law currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I drug, the same classification as heroin and LSD.
So, if it is declassified, we all know it should be legalized. We all know that.
Yeah.
But if it is declassified as a Schedule I, that is breadcrumbs, but it is good.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to see a whole lot less black and brown people, locked up for some stupid shit anyway.
Yeah.
So, since they're the ones who are already always targeted, so that is good. The bad thing is that they're making it like, oh, federal offenses are going to be canceled, but there is nobody who will benefit from that. And I'm not sure how that would help you get a job if you're saying that someone has committed a federal offense and that getting out is going to help them get... I don't understand that.
Yeah.
If you're not going to expunge, letting them out, cool. You need to expunge their records. You need to just make sure it looks like it never happened, because unless and until you do that, that's not going to help anyone get a fucking job or a place to live. That's fucking absurd. And honestly, we should all know by now to read through the lines with this shit. There are so many people who are like, holy shit, I never thought Biden would help us get cannabis and stuff. It's like, you guys, he's been in this shit for 40 years. You really think he's gonna do that? Come on. It's beyond wishful thinking. This is pure, just, pure denial at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the other clip. When this happened, I immediately thought of how he just fired some of his staffers for admitting they used cannabis in the past. That was not that long ago.
Yeah, that was, let's look at the date of this article. That was March 19th, 2021.
So it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden he's like, it's cool, guys. I'm awesome. Hello, fellow kids. Yeah.
And yeah, his whole thread, it was just you're not going to at all talk about your previous role in making weed so stigmatized and causing the war on drugs to begin with, right? Or
right.
I shouldn't say cause, because it was already happening, but he created a bill, helped create a bill that was much more.
A bill that he still says he's very proud of.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of disgusts me when certain people are like, but everybody was kind of thinking that. And it's like, what kind of excuse is that? What kind of excuse is that? Oh, everybody was doing that. People want no. No. So, yeah. So that is Biden for us.
We hate to cover things like that because we know other people are talking about it, and we try to talk about things that others aren't really talking about. But that was something that I really wanted to clarify, because I've seen people like actually giving him credit, and I'm just like, no, don't do that.
Right.
Never.
Right.
For anything. Ever.
Yep. So what do we got next? We got. Do I even want to talk about Cuomo at this point? I don't even know.
Not really.
Is it even worth talking about him? Fuck him.
Not really.
All right. So we will skip to our closing, our little, light closing remarks.
We've gotten called out a few times for leaving it on a sad note, or, a depressing note, or an angry note. So we're going to show something that is depressing and infuriating if you really think about it. But on the surface, it's very much the epitome of, if we don't laugh, we'll cry. And I laughed.
Plus, anybody who gets outwitted by Joe Rogan, it's just like, you should just quit. You should just quit. All right, here we go.
The internet.
Absolutely.
You trust the people that got us into the Iraq war under false pretenses to regulate the internet? Do you think that makes any sense?
Well, wait a minute. I would not. The people who got us into the Iraq war.
It's the government.
Was the politicians.
It's the government.
They're part of the government.
In the end, yes, it's the government. But who else is going to regulate?
But if they're going to be in power and they're regulating the internet, they're going to regulate the internet in a way that suits their best interests. The same way they do with the banking industry, the same way they do with the environment, the same way they do with energy, the same way they do with everything. What represents their interests? There's so much. You're talking about so much money involved in disseminating information in a very particular way.
Right now, or the internet companies are rich beyond belief.
Yeah, it's but it's a disruptive thing that has never existed before. I think it exists, and I think where we're at is where we're at. I think we need to move forward collectively as a country with an ethic that respects truth and that it appreciates opinions and reality and an understanding of things that's not necessarily possible with corporate interests involved in dissemination of information.
But there's no way to do that except through the government. There's no way that you can do that except through the government.
Why is that?
Human nature is not going to change.
But the government's not going to change either.
But the government is capable of change. Okay, look, the government regulates, for example, the food supply, or it can regulate. Let's take the
food supply.
Yeah, that Department of Agriculture.
Why have they let glyphosate infestate all of our foods?
Let's take one thing.
Yeah, but that's a problem. That's the government regulating.
Well, then we better get better politicians in them to appoint better people. I mean, it's not. Again, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Right.
Okay. So let's take the SEC or take the Food and Drug Administration, which regulates big pharma. On the one hand, we've got a very safe supply of drugs in this country.
Safe.
Their drugs are tested. You don't get too many bad drugs. Prescribed drugs.
25% of all drugs approved by the FDA get recalled.
Okay, so just in case, this guy is the guy who created Rolling Stone magazine. And I subscribed to Rolling Stone for over 20 years. And before I was fully awake, I used to love their political articles because they actually interviewed a lot of activists and organizers, and they did a lot on.
They used to be better, from what I hear. They used to be more actually leftist. Yeah,
they used to write about Occupy Wall Street and all this stuff, and they actually had some really good articles. But I unsubscribed probably 7 years ago or so. But this dude's the one who created Rolling Stone.
Yeah, 25%. Seriously, I didn't know that. I don't know that either, and I don't know where Joe Rogan is getting. Again,
I don't know
I'm not
about
doubting
25%,
it, but I'm not going
I
to
know it
confirm
is
it.
a big chunk.
I agree with this. I understand the sentiment of it. I don't know if that's the exact number. I'd have to look at myself, but yeah.
Well, the first thing that makes me laugh so fucking hard is the government can change. It can change to make it worse. If you're talking about, well, we need to get more people, better people elected, you're just, you don't understand. You don't get it. You just don't get it. And that guy, I don't know if he was like on coke or I don't know, but he was like, I had to watch it twice to even understand fully what he was saying. But you know, I don't watch Rogan. He's not someone I watch, but like props to him for pushing back, because this guy was just like, you're literally saying you want the government to control our internet. Like you want them to. Like most of us are complaining that they do, but you're saying it's a good thing. Incredible. You must not have anything to say that's, you know, other than status quo, because
yeah.
Bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our funny thing we ended it on, because yeah, if we don't laugh, we'll cry. I wish I did watch that show so I could watch the comments, because I have a feeling he probably got ripped a new asshole, and it would have been kind of awesome.
Although I don't think he really live streams, so.
That could be.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things in the, you know, comments, but you know, the recorded comments, whatever the fuck you want to call them. But yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what you got coming up, Joy?
So, actually you go first. I gotta look up my my date on Twitter that I have this guest on. So you talk first.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, check me out on the People's Voice Network. Give me 1 second to right here subscribe to it. You can catch me on Overlook News with Z. We're probably going to be doing episode this weekend, and tune in for a lot of other things that, you know, we talk about when it comes to news and updates that a lot of other channels are not talking about. So yeah. What about you, Joy?
I am looking for it right now. It is going to be Wednesday. I am having Jose Vega on. He is the gentleman who completely destroyed Jamal Bowman. He just, oh man, Jamal Bowman was giving this, you know, big speech about how he wants to help people of color, and Jose Vega went in there and he was like yelling at him, "You're helping to fund Nazis in Ukraine." So I reached out to him and I'm like, "Yo, I gotta have you on my show.
Wanna be your
That's what's
friend."
up. That's what I love to do. Just stir shit up, make them uncomfortable." And then he sends me other videos of him doing shit like that to Kamala and other people, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" So yeah, I'm gonna have him Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I love it. I love it. More of that. More of that. So yeah, and then of course, that's my channel, Savage Joy Marie Mann, and I have YouTube and Rockfin. Also, please, if you have a story, a healthcare testimonial, please send it to m4m4all.org. There's a place you can click to submit your story. We are looking for 3 to 5 minute stories, testimonials, and by testimonial, we do not mean fuck the Democrats, they don't care. We mean we want to hear your story as evidence. This is going to be actual evidence that we provide to the Human Rights Council of the United Nations with our official complaint for letting people die and suffer without health care and with insufficient health care. So this is your part, your chance to be part of history. It's never been done in our country before. So we've been working with human rights lawyers for over a year, and we're coming towards the completion. So if you can send us a video of your story, anything, medical bills, medical bankruptcy, if you lost your insurance with loss of a job, anything like that, please send us your video. And also, if you're not comfortable on camera, you can type us up like a page or less to share your story that way as well. But yes, and then we will be back here Monday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, as always. And thank you so much for watching. If you can, please subscribe to my Patreon. You can do as little as $3 a month. But it helps me pay for my streaming things and, my traveling to go to events I speak at, things like that. So it really helps. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and much love.